Today we're going to take you on a tour of some of the sacred and very special sites in Ireland. We're in County Tipperary. This is one of the most fertile, rich counties in Ireland. And in the center of it lies a massive outcrop of limestone. It rises 200 feet above the ground, and it's called the Rock of Cashel. And as you're walking up this slope towards the rock, it's hard not to imagine that once upon a time, a missionary bishop named Patrick was escorted by a young king up this hill towards the rock. And it's that special relationship between St. Patrick and the kings of Cashel that lies at the rock's greatness.
The rock, of course, isn't just a rock. It was to become the power center of the southern half of the country. It first began as a fortification of the kings of Munster in the 4th century. They built the fortress, and their rule remained unchallenged across the land until the 10th century. In 1101, it was handed over to the church, making it now not only a political power base, but the ecclesiastical capital of Munster as well.
The walls of the rock here in the Vicar's Choral. Now, this long 2-story building was built as a dormitory of sorts to house the Vicar's Choral. They were a group of men that would sing at the cathedral services. Now, most of this building has been redone. I want to take you down here to the undercroft of the Vicar's Choral, where quite an impressive collection of stone sculptures found in and around the rock is being held. And it's here that you'll find the original St. Patrick's cross. It's housed inside the hall to prevent it from weather damage. It stands over 7 feet tall, and it's made from local sandstone. Now, this cross is very unique to Irish crosses. It doesn't have the ring around the top, and it has 2 side panels on either side. Now, only one survives today. Legend has it that St. Patrick would inaugurate the kings of Cashel and Munster here at the base of the cross.
And St. Patrick's influence on the kings of Cashel started early. In the 5th century, he converted King Angus in a ceremony in which he accidentally stabbed the king in the foot with his walking staff during the baptism. The king, thinking this was all part of the ceremony, barely flinched.
Here along the north wall, you'll find a really unusual carving of a female figure. This was found in a 17th century tomb inside the cathedral. Now, you'll see when you look at her, she has her legs entwined, she has no arms, a very thick neck, and very exaggerated facial features. All this would suggest that she is some sort of fertility goddess. Now, in 1167, Cormac's chapel was already too small, and another larger church needed to be built. It would take 65 years to build that church, and would barely be consecrated before yet another bigger chapel needed to be built. This younger by a century church would become known as St. Patrick's Cathedral.
The cathedral is a large cruciform-style church and is built of limestone just like the rock. There's quite an elegant air inside, created by the Gothic arches, the high rib vaulting, and the lancet windows. It's an aisleless building with a tower at its center, and many would consider it one of the best examples of Gothic-style architecture in Ireland.
Now, as you're leaving St. Patrick's Cathedral, you come immediately upon this gravesite, and not much is known about the people buried here before the 1900s. But interestingly, in 1930, they opened a register where people in the town of Cashel could put their name on a list if they wanted to be buried here. Now, there's only about 5 or 6 names left on that list, and after that, no one else will be buried outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral on the rock.
This well-preserved round tower is the final building that makes up St. Patrick's Rock. It's 92 feet high and most likely early 12th century. It's been repaired recently after having been struck by lightning. All 4 of these buildings on this hilltop in Tipperary, Ireland, have seen multitudes gather for prayer, as well as countless armies prepare for violence. So it simply makes sense that the great St. Paddy of Ireland would have come to this place in hopes of saving the souls of Ireland, this place that was both a hub of earthly and spiritual power.
So as we leave the rock, we think back to St. Patrick and his intentions for this site. He worked hard to spark the fire of Christianity in the kings that ruled here. He wanted to make this a place of prayer, and I think after seeing these buildings, you can feel that that intention has remained unchallenged at the Rock of Cashel. Next, we'll head about 10 miles north to another really important pilgrimage site called the Holy Cross Abbey. We're here at the Holy Cross Abbey. It's situated along the beautiful banks of the River Suir in southeast Ireland. Now this is an amazing sight. When we go inside, you'll see in the cathedral there's an inscription on the altar that reads that the cross of Christ not be emptied of its power. It's quite a strong statement, and it sets the tone for an abbey that really struggled the first 2 centuries for its survival.
Any hopes of rebuilding the abbey were squashed when first in the 1500s King Henry VIII investigated the monasteries in Ireland and established that they were too wealthy and no longer served a purpose. He ordered they be suppressed and handed over to him immediately. Then in the 17th century, continued persecution led the monks to move to private houses in Kilkenny.
This is quite interesting. This door here was said to lead to an underground tunnel that was almost 10 miles in length. It was dug for the protection of the monks, and legend has it that it led all the way to none other than the Rock of Cashel.
But unlike the rock, life at the abbey was austere and silent for the monks. It was devoted to prayer and to work. They had community prayer 7 times a day starting around 2 a.m., and it consisted of chanting the psalms and readings in the church. The abbey's cathedral follows the cruciform pattern that's generally found in Cistercian houses. Overhead is a type of groined roof with stone ribs springing from points within the arches. Those ribs fan out and they meet where you see the bell ropes. All of the stone work was done here with chisel and mallet, and the skilled masons carved their personal marks on the pillars. An example is on this pillar to the north, where you see an owl is carved.
So this is really one of the most sumptuous features of the abbey. It's called a sedilia, which means seat. And this is where the celebrant, the deacon, or the subdeacon would sit during Mass.
The sedilia has been known by the locals as the tomb of the good woman's son. A story still survives in this area today that this is actually the burial place of an English prince who was murdered here locally. And that story brings us here to the relic of the cross. This is a piece of the cross Jesus was crucified on, and it was given to the abbey in the 12th century. Many believe that the English prince buried at the sedilia, known as the good woman's son, came to Ireland to collect tithe, but he was murdered and buried in a wood nearby the abbey. Legend has it that after seeing this in a vision, a blind monk discovered the body and brought the prince's ring to the queen, his mother. In gratitude, she presented the abbey with this large relic of the true cross.
So in 1967, a new destiny opened up for the church. A move was initiated locally to restore the Abbey Cathedral and bring it back into the community as the parish church. If you wanted to get married here today, you'd have to book 3 years in advance. So it's a good sign that the Abbey is alive and well and peacefully serving its people today. Next, in our tour of sacred sites in the land of the Celtic Tiger, we'll head down to a small town in southeast Ireland called Clonmel. Hidden there in a small glen is a very magical well called St. Patrick's Well. So this is our final site in our tour of sacred sites here in Ireland. And this is a real magical one. It's called St. Patrick's Well, and it's nestled between the Slievemon and the Comeragh Mountains. Now, if you look out here, you'll see in this pond, there's bubbles gently sloping up from the ground into this beautiful, gorgeous water that's located at the end of an oak tree. And in the middle is a Celtic-style cross that dates back to the 5th century. Now, the waters here are said to have healing powers, so it's become quite the pilgrimage site for people from all over the world.
This mystical pond is said to have healing powers, a claim which brings thousands of visitors each year. And the head of a ringed cross can be seen in the middle of the water. It's of Celtic style and it dates back to the 5th century. Beside the well are the ruins of a small church over 375 years old. Within the church you find the altar tomb of the White family. It contains the remains of Nicholas White, who belonged to the House of York throughout the War of the Roses in the 15th century. Even pictures can't quite translate the serenity of St. Patrick's Well.
Well, thanks for watching the program. I hope you feel you learned a little bit more about what March 17th means. It's more than wearing green or leprechauns and four-leaf clovers. Have a great St. Patrick's Day for TV 27. I'm Nicole Dauphinee.